Get that street rat away from the boss's car. Tadeo's hand clamps around 10-year-old Iyanu Oduya's arm, yanking her back from the Ferrari's door. She doesn't cry out, doesn't beg. The photograph in her grip, her mother's last instruction, crumples against her chest as rain soaks through her faded navy shirt. You think you can touch a $400,000 machine? Tadeo shoves her toward the gutter. Go back to whatever hole you crawled out of. Inside the vehicle, Mafia boss Severin Marchetti adjusts his cufflinks and settles into blood-red leather. The door seals shut. Silence, control, power. He reaches for the ignition and freezes. A child is sitting in his passenger seat. She's no older than 10. Dark skin, hair in neat braids, wearing clothes too thin for the rain. She shouldn't be here. No one enters Severin's car. No one breathes his air without permission. His hand slides toward the pistol beneath his seat. But she doesn't flinch, doesn't blink. She holds up a crumpled photograph. A younger Severin smiling, his arm wrapped around a beautiful black woman. My mother said you'd know her face, the girl says, her voice steady as stone. She's dying. She told me to find you before it's too late. Severin's hand freezes on the gun. The woman in the photo, Moremi, a name he buried 12 years ago. His throat tightens. Who sent you? He whispers. The girl holds his gaze. You did. The night you left her pregnant and never came back. She pauses, then speaks one word that detonates his entire existence. Father. Severin Marchetti has killed men for less than this intrusion. But something in her eyes, ancient, unafraid his, stops his hand. What happens next will expose a rot inside his empire that has destroyed 87 families, including hers. The word hangs in the air like gunsmoke. Father. Severin Marchetti has not heard that word directed at him in 52 years of living. He has been called boss, don, sir, the devil himself. But never that. Never the one thing that implies he belongs to someone. His hand is still on the pistol. He could end this in 2 seconds. One pull, one problem solved, one body in the river by midnight. He has done it before for less, for insults, for inconvenience, for men who simply looked at him wrong. But the girl doesn't look away. She sits in his passenger seat like she owns it, her small body angled toward him, shoulders squared, chin lifted. Rain streaks the windows behind her, blurring the world outside into gray nothing. Inside this blood-red leather cocoon, there is only her. Only those eyes, dark, ancient, unbothered by the death coiled in his posture. You're lying, Severin says. His voice is gravel scraping bone. Look at the picture! He doesn't want to. Looking means considering. Considering means remembering. And remembering Moremi Oduya is a door he welded shut 12 years ago. But his eyes betray him. They drop to the photograph still clutched in the girl's hand. A younger Severin stares back, 40 years old, less silver in his hair, fewer graves behind his eyes. He is smiling. Actually smiling. His arm is wrapped around a woman so beautiful it hurts to look at her. Dark skin like polished wood. Eyes that held no fear of what he was. Moremi. His chest tightens like a fist is squeezing his ribs from the inside. Where did you get this? The question comes out fractured. Wrong. He sounds like a man losing control, and Severin Marchetti never loses control. My mother's nightstand, Iyanu says. She looks at it every night before she sleeps. She thinks I don't know, but I do. The girl's voice doesn't waver. She's sick. Cancer. The doctors say weeks, maybe days. She told me if anything ever happened to her, I should find the man in the photograph. She pauses, letting the words land like stones dropped into still water. She said he owed her. She said he was the only man she ever loved, and he left her carrying his child without a word. Severin's jaw tightens. His knuckles whiten on the steering wheel. I don't have children. You do. Iyanu holds his gaze. You just never came back to meet her. The rain hammers harder against the glass. The Ferrari idles, engine purring like a beast waiting for instruction. Outside, Tadeo is still standing in the downpour, confused, waiting for a signal that doesn't come. Severin looks at the girl. Really looks. The shape of her eyes, the stubborn set of her jaw, the way she refuses to flinch even when she should be terrified. He sees himself, and it breaks something inside him he didn't know still existed. Where is she? He asks quietly. Your mother. Where is she now? Against every instinct carved into his bones, Severin drives. The girl directs him with quiet authority. Left here, right at the light, straight past the boarded-up grocery store. The streets grow narrower, grimier, lampposts flicker like dying heartbeats, graffiti bleeds across brick walls. He recognizes the territory, Southside, District 14. But he has never driven through it himself. This is the soil his empire owns, the ground that feeds his fortune. He has simply never looked at what grows here. They stop outside a crumbling apartment block. 5 stories of stained concrete and shattered windows. A building that looks like it's waiting for permission to collapse. Top floor, Iyanu says. The elevator hasn't worked in 3 years. Severin kills the engine. He stares at the building through rain-smeared glass, and something cold settles in his stomach. This is where Moremi has been living. This is where his child has been surviving. While he sat in penthouses and ate from plates that cost more than a month's rent here, he follows Iyanu up 5 flights of stairs that groan under his weight. The hallway smells of mildew and fried food, and something chemical he doesn't want to name. She stops at apartment 5C and pushes open a door that doesn't lock properly. Inside, the apartment is small enough to fit in his bathroom. A kitchenette with a hot plate. A single window letting in gray light. And in the corner, on a mattress thin as paper, lies the woman who once made him forget what he was. Moremi Oduya is a ghost of herself. Her skin stretches tight over bones that jut like accusations. Her head is bald, smooth, robbed of the long braids he used to wrap around his fingers. Her eyes, those fearless, burning eyes, are sunk deep into her skull, ringed with exhaustion. But when she sees him, she smiles. A small, broken thing. You came, she whispers. I didn't think you would. Severin crosses the room. His legs feel like they belong to someone else. He kneels beside her mattress, the first time he has knelt before anyone in 30 years, and he doesn't know what to do with his hands. They have killed. They have built empires. They have never learned how to hold something this fragile. Moremi. Her name is rust in his throat. Why didn't you find me sooner? Would you have come? She doesn't ask it with bitterness. Just truth. He has no answer. I'm not asking you to love her, Moremi continues, her voice thin as smoke. I'm asking you to keep her alive when I can't. She has no one else. There are treatments, doctors, the clinic that could have helped me shut down 8 months ago. Moremi's eyes drift to the window. Your people did it. Your men. I didn't know until it was too late. She looks back at him, and there is no accusation, only exhaustion. Your empire is killing me, Severin, and you didn't even know. Severin doesn't sleep that night. He stands at the floor-to-ceiling windows of his penthouse, 40 stories above a city he supposedly owns, and watches the rain drown the streets below. Somewhere in the darkness, in a crumbling apartment that smells like death, a woman he once loved is counting her final breaths. A daughter he never knew is sleeping on a mattress beside her, guarding a mother who can't be saved. And it's his fault, all of it. At 3 a.m., he summons Hadley Frost. The accountant arrives in 19 minutes, pale and trembling, still buttoning his shirt. Hadley is a thin man, with spectacles too large for his face, and a nervous habit of cracking his knuckles. He has managed the family's finances for 11 years. He knows where every dollar flows, every cent hides, every body is buried, metaphorically and otherwise. Southside Territories, Severin says without preamble. District 14. I want every record, protection fees, business loans, closures, everything Orazio has touched in the last 5 years. Hadley's face goes gray. Sir, those records are... Orazio keeps them separate. He said you authorized... I'm authorizing you now. Severin's voice is ice cracking over deep water. Get them. Tonight. By dawn, Severin's dining table is buried in paper. Spreadsheets, ledgers, photographs, and each page is worse than the last. Orazio Conti has been running an empire within the empire, and it is a slaughterhouse. Predatory loans issued at 200% interest to families who could never repay. Businesses burned to the ground for missing a single payment. Shop owners beaten in front of their children. The free clinic on Maple Street, the one that served 3,000 patients, the one that could have caught Moremi's cancer early, shut down after Orazio's men put Dr. Elena Vance in a coma for refusing to launder money through her prescriptions. And the money. God, the money. $14 million skimmed over 5 years, routed through shell companies to offshore accounts in the Caymans, accounts that bear Orazio's brother-in-law's name. Severin never saw a dime of it because he never thought to look. He trusted Orazio, treated him like a son, gave him the keys to the south side and told him to make it profitable. Orazio made it bleed. Severin sits back in his chair, photographs of beaten shopkeepers spread before him like an indictment. His hands are shaking, not from fear, from rage, the kind that starts in the marrow and doesn't stop until something is destroyed. He built this kingdom. Brick by brick, body by body, he built it with rules. No women, no children, no civilians who didn't choose this life. Those were the lines, those were the laws that made him a king instead of a butcher. Orazio erased everyone. And while Severin sat in his tower, sipping bourbon and reading quarterly reports, Moremi was dying in a neighborhood his own men had strangled. He didn't pull the trigger, but he built the gun. By noon, Moremi is in a private hospital room that costs more per night than her apartment costs per year. Severin arranges everything through back channels. Doctors who owe him favors, administrators who know better than to ask questions. The room has clean sheets, machines that beep with quiet precision, and a window overlooking a garden instead of a dumpster-filled alley. It's not enough. It will never be enough. But it's something. He returns to the Southside apartment to tell Iyanu. She's not inside. The door is unlocked, still broken, still waiting for a landlord who will never come, and the mattress where Moremi slept is stripped bare. For a moment, Severin's heart seizes. Then he hears it. A small sound from the fire escape. Breathing. He finds her sitting on rusted metal, legs dangling over the edge, 5 stories above concrete that would kill her if she slipped. The rain has softened to a drizzle, but her navy shirt is still damp, clinging to thin shoulders. She doesn't turn when he climbs through the window. Doesn't acknowledge him at all. Your mother's been moved, Severin says. Best oncologist in the state. Private room. Whatever she needs. Iyanu watches the street below. A stray dog picks through garbage. A woman hurries past with a broken umbrella. Why now? She asks. The question lands like a blade between his ribs. I told you. She's sick. She needs... You had 12 years. Now she turns. Those ancient eyes pin him in place, refusing to let him hide. 12 years she worked double shifts. 12 years she cried when she thought I was sleeping. 12 years I watched her get sicker and sicker because she couldn't afford a doctor. Her voice doesn't rise. It doesn't need to. So why now? Because you feel guilty? Severin lowers himself onto the fire escape beside her. His $4,000 suit presses against rusted metal. He can feel the cold seeping through the fabric, the wet iron leaving stains that will never come out. He doesn't care. I told myself leaving protected her, he says quietly. Told myself my enemies would use her to hurt me, that she'd be safer if I disappeared. And I lied. He stares at his hands that have built empires, ended lives, signed death warrants without flinching. I left because I was afraid. Iyanu studies him. Afraid of what? Of being something other than what I am. The words hang in the wet air. Below, a car alarm wails and dies. Iyanu stands, brushing rust from her shorts. She looks down at him, this powerful man sitting broken on her fire escape, and her expression is unreadable. My mother said you were the only man she ever loved. She pauses at the window. She also said you were a coward. Severin doesn't argue. Iyanu climbs inside, then stops, looks back. Prove her half wrong? She disappears into the apartment. Severin remains on the fire escape, rain dripping down his face, wondering if he still can. Orazio Conti has learned one truth in 23 years of serving the Marchetti family. Every king eventually bleeds. You just have to wait long enough to see it. He sits in the back room of La Fortuna, his private club in the garment district, watching surveillance footage on a laptop. The screen shows Severin's Ferrari pulling up to a South Side apartment block. Shows the old man climbing out in the rain, following a child inside. Shows him emerging 2 hours later, face carved with something Orazio has never seen before. Weakness. Orazio rewinds, watches again. The child, the building, the way Severin moves, hesitant, uncertain, like a man walking through a minefield of his own making. 5 years. 5 years Orazio has waited, skimming money, turning captains, building a shadow empire inside Severin's crumbling kingdom. 5 years of patience, of smiling at sit-downs, of calling the old man boss while sharpening the knife behind his back. And now this, a woman, a child, a secret. Orazio smiles. It doesn't reach his eyes. It never does. The next morning he visits the South Side himself. He dresses down. No silk, no gold, no signs of what he is. He carries a clipboard and wears a lanyard that says, City Outreach Services. The disguise is simple, effective. No one questions a man with a clipboard. He knocks on apartment 5C. The girl answers. Small, dark skin, braids. She looks up at him with eyes that hold no fear, only assessment, measuring him like she measured her father 2 days ago. Good morning, Orazio says warmly. I'm with a local charity. We're checking on families in the area, seeing if anyone needs assistance. He tilts his head, letting his gaze drift past her into the bare apartment. Is your mother home? She's in the hospital. Oh, I'm sorry to hear that. Orazio crouches to her level, his smile gentle as a blade sliding from its sheath. Is there anyone taking care of you? Family? A father, perhaps? Something flickers in the girl's eyes. Caution. My grandmother comes by. She lies smoothly. Orazio nods, impressed despite himself. The child is clever, guarded. She has her father's instincts without knowing it. Well, if you ever need anything. He pulls a card from his pocket, presses it into her hand. Don't hesitate to call. He leaves the building, walks 3 blocks to where his car waits, and makes a phone call. I want eyes on that apartment. 24 hours. Everyone who enters, everyone who leaves. And find out who the woman in the hospital is. That night, after Iyanu has fallen asleep, Orazio returns alone. He places a single white rose on the doorstep. The next morning, Severin arrives to check on his daughter. He sees the rose before he reaches the stairs. His blood turns to ice in his veins. The white rose, an old signal, a promise written in petals. I know. And I'm coming. Orazio knows. The game has changed. Severin calls a sit-down. The 12 captains gather in the back room of Marchetti's, the restaurant his father opened 40 years ago, the same room where Severin took his first life at 19. Oak-paneled walls, a table long enough to seat an army, portraits of dead men watching from gilded frames. These are the men who built his empire. Loan sharks, enforcers, smugglers, men who have killed for him, bled for him, buried bodies in concrete for him, men he trusted with his life. Now he studies their faces, looking for the knife. Orazio sits at the far end, relaxed, legs crossed, wine glass balanced loosely in his fingers. He smiles when Severin enters, the smile of a son greeting his father, the smile of a snake sizing up a meal. "Gentlemen," Severin says, taking his seat at the head, "I have a question." The room stills. "If I were to step down tomorrow?" He lets the words land, watches them ripple across the table. "Who would lead?" Silence, the kind that screams. Gazes drop to the tablecloth. Fingers fidget with napkins. Half the room won't meet his eyes. Tommaso Ferrara, who Severin pulled from a gutter 30 years ago, stares at his plate like it holds the secrets of the universe. Dante Morello, whose daughter Severin paid to send to medical school, suddenly finds his cufflinks fascinating. Only Orazio holds his gaze, still smiling, still calm. "A strange question, boss," Orazio says lightly. "Planning a vacation?" "Just curious." Severin rises. "Meeting adjourned." He knows everything he needs to know. That night, Severin and Tadeo wait in the shadows behind a warehouse on Pier 16. They wait for 3 hours, silent as graves, until a black SUV pulls up and a mountain of a man steps out. Krešimir Zupan, Orazio's chief enforcer, a Croatian giant who has killed for the family since the fall of Yugoslavia. 6'5", 270 pounds, hands like sledgehammers. He has broken more bones than most doctors have set. Tonight, those hands are zip-tied behind his back. Tadeo holds the gun. Severin asks the questions. It doesn't take long. Krešimir is loyal to money, not men, and Severin offers more than Orazio ever could, his life. The giant talks. Orazio has turned 7 of the 12 captains. He's promised them territories, promotions, freedom from Severin's old-fashioned rules. The coup is planned for Friday. A bullet during the weekly collection run, made to look like a rival hit. Clean, professional, Severin dead, Orazio grieving, the throne changing hands before the body cools. 5 days. Severin has 5 days. He releases Krešimir with a warning and a broken finger to remember it by. Then he stands in the empty warehouse, rain drumming on the roof, and does the math. 7 captains turned, 50 soldiers loyal to Orazio, an empire rotted from within. He cannot outgun this, cannot outmaneuver it. The kingdom he built is already gone. If he wants to protect Iyanu, he needs to burn it all down himself. The parking garage beneath the Hilton smells like exhaust and old concrete. Severin waits on level B3, leaning against a pillar, watching the shadows. He has killed men in places like this. Now he's here to kill himself. At least the version of himself that has existed for 30 years. Headlights cut through the darkness. A black sedan, government plates, pulls into the space across from him. The engine dies. A woman steps out. Delwyn Casimir has aged since he last saw her, more gray in her cropped hair, deeper lines around her mouth. But her eyes are the same, sharp, patient, hungry, the eyes of a hunter who has chased the same prey for 15 years and never stopped believing she'd catch it. Severin Marchetti. She stops 10 feet away, hand resting near her hip. "When my office said you wanted to meet, I thought it was a trap." "It's not." "Then what is it?" Severin reaches into his coat. Delwyn's hand twitches toward her weapon. He moves slowly, deliberately, and pulls out a flash drive. Holds it up between 2 fingers like a cigarette. "Shipping routes for the eastern seaboard," he says. "Account numbers for 14 offshore holdings. Names of 37 judges, 16 politicians, and 4 police captains on my payroll. Locations of bodies you've been looking for since 2011. Delwyn doesn't move, doesn't blink. And in exchange? Witness protection, full immunity, new identities. For you? For a woman named Iyanu Oduya and her daughter, Iyanu. He pauses. And Orazio Conti in a federal cell for the rest of his life. Delwyn's eyes narrow. You're offering me your entire empire to protect a woman and a child? Yes. Why? The question hangs in the stale air. Water drips somewhere in the darkness. A car horn echoes from the street above. Severin pulls out the photograph, the one Iyanu carried through the rain, the one that started everything. He holds it up so Delwyn can see. A younger version of himself, smiling, human, wrapped around a woman who made him forget what he was. Because I just found something I can't buy, he says quietly. Can't kill, can't control. He tucks the photograph back into his pocket, close to his chest. And I'll be damned if I let Orazio take it from me. Delwyn studies him for a long moment. 15 years she's chased this man. 15 years of warrants and wiretaps and bodies that led nowhere. And now he's standing in a parking garage, offering her everything on a silver platter. You know what this means, she says finally. You hand this over, there's no going back, no empire, no power, no name. Severin Marchetti dies. He's already dead. Severin holds out the flash drive. He just didn't know it until a 10-year-old girl climbed into his car and told him the truth. Delwyn takes the drive, weighs it in her palm like she's holding a grenade. I'll need more than this, she says. I'll need testimony, recordings, a wire. Severin nods slowly. Then get me close to Orazio, and I'll give you everything. Orazio moves first. The call comes at 2:47 p.m. Severin is in his penthouse, reviewing wire protocols with Delwyn's technical team when his phone buzzes. Unknown number, he answers. Check your messages, old man. The line goes dead. Severin opens his texts. A video file. 13 seconds long. He presses play, and his world collapses. Iyanu sits in a metal chair, wrists bound behind her back with zip ties. The room is dim, concrete walls, industrial lighting, water stains creeping across the ceiling. A man stands behind her, face out of frame, pressing the barrel of a pistol against her temple. But Iyanu doesn't cry, doesn't beg. She stares directly into the camera with those ancient, defiant eyes, her father's eyes, and her jaw is set like granite, even now, even with death kissing her skull. Orazio's voice comes from off-screen, smooth as silk over broken glass. She's brave, Severin. I'll give her that. Most children would be screaming by now. A pause. But bravery doesn't stop bullets. The video ends. Severin's phone rings again. Same unknown number. Here's how this works, Orazio says. You sign over the organization, every account, every territory, every asset. Then you disappear. Mexico, Europe, I don't care. You vanish, and the girl goes home to her dying mother. Severin's hand trembles. He grips the phone so hard the screen cracks. And if I refuse? Then I mail her back to Moremi, one piece at a time, starting with the fingers. The line goes dead. Severin stands frozen in his penthouse, the cracked phone still pressed to his ear. The FBI technicians stare at him, waiting for instructions. He doesn't see them, doesn't hear them. There is only the image of his daughter, bound, defiant, a gun to her head, burned into his retinas like a brand. He plays the video again, and again, and again. 17 times he watches. 17 times he sees Iyanu's face, her courage, her refusal to break. On the 18th viewing, he sees something else. Behind Iyanu, barely visible in the dim light, a window, grimy glass, industrial frame. And in that window, a reflection. Faded letters painted on brick across the street. Marchetti. The old shipping warehouse. Pier 9. The same warehouse where Severin's father stored bootleg liquor in the 70s. The same warehouse where Severin made his first kill. Orazio thinks he's being clever, using the family's own history as a tomb. He's wrong. Severin calls Delwyn. I know where she is. We can have a tactical team there and... No. Severin's voice is iron. No teams, no sirens. Orazio sees a single badge, he kills her. Then what do you suggest? Severin stares at the frozen image of his daughter on the cracked screen. Her eyes, his eyes, unbroken. I'm going in alone, unarmed, wired. He pauses. And you're going to record every word that animal says before I bring him down. Silence on the line. You understand, this is likely a one-way trip, Delwyn says quietly. I know. Severin grabs his coat. But she's my daughter, and I'm done leaving. 3 months later. The gymnasium smells like floor wax and cheap streamers. Folding chairs creak under the weight of proud parents. A hand-painted banner hangs above the stage. Congratulations, 5th grade graduates! Children squirm in their seats, tugging at collars and smoothing borrowed dresses. In the back row, a man sits alone. Severin Marchetti, or whatever name the federal government has given him now, watches from the shadows near the exit door. His shoulder still aches where the bullet tore through muscle and bone. His face is thinner, older, carved with new lines that weren't there 3 months ago. He wears a simple gray jacket, no gold pin, no silk tie. Nothing that marks him as what he was. The king is dead. The man who remains barely recognizes himself. Moremi sits in the 3rd row, a bright head wrap covering hair that's just beginning to grow back. The surgery was successful. The cancer is in remission. She cried when the doctors told her. Severin watched through the hospital window, and for the first time in 52 years, he cried too. She doesn't know he's here today. She can't. After today, he disappears forever. New name, new city, new life. The price of bringing down his own empire. Orazio Conti is rotting in a federal supermax, serving 7 consecutive life sentences. The 12 captains scattered, some arrested, some fled, some turned state's witness to save their own skin. The Marchetti Empire collapsed in 6 weeks. 30 years of blood and power, gone like smoke in the wind. Severin feels nothing about it. Nothing except relief. Iyanu Oduya. The name echoes through the gymnasium. Severin's breath catches. She walks across the stage in a yellow dress Moremi must have saved months to buy. Her braids are fresh, decorated with small gold beads that catch the light. She accepts her diploma with both hands, and when she turns to face the audience, she's smiling. She's smiling. Severin burns the image into his memory. This is what he saved. This is what mattered. Not the empire, not the throne, this girl, this smile, this future he almost destroyed before it began. After the ceremony, he slips towards the exit. He's 3 steps from the door when a voice stops him. You came. He turns. Iyanu stands behind him, diploma clutched to her chest, eyes bright with tears she's too proud to shed. I told you I wouldn't leave, he says quietly. You're leaving now. I have to keep you safe. She nods slowly. She understands. She's always understood more than any child should. She steps forward and takes his hand. Doesn't hug him. Doesn't cry. Just holds his hand for a moment, her small fingers wrapped around his scarred knuckles. Thank you, she whispers, for not being a coward. Not when it mattered. Severin squeezes her hand. Once, twice. Then he lets go. He walks through the gymnasium doors, into the gray afternoon light, and doesn't look back. Iyanu watches him disappear into the rain, clutching her diploma, standing tall. The king is dead. But the father remains. One satisfies you. One satisfies both of us. If this story moved you, if you felt something when Severin stepped in front of that bullet, then you know what to do. Like, subscribe, hit that notification bell. See you soon.